afternoon and welcome to Faculty Lounge Live. Today we have a very special guest, Dr. Anna Agapova, who is the winner of last year's Online Faculty Award and also a dear friend and familiar face here at the Center for Online and Continuing Education. Dr. Agapova, welcome.
Dear Mary, thank you so much for introduction. You really make me sound like I'm good. And I hope I will share my experience and you will believe that. And I've known Mary for a very long time. As Mary said, we're friends for more than 3 years, probably since the first time I started teaching online when most of us had to do it during pandemic. And I'm very happy to be here and I'm honored to be here. So
likewise.
Thank you.
Likewise. It's a real honor to have you. Today, we're going to be talking about your teaching. So I feel really honored to have that opportunity with you. But before we go into that, I would like you to tell us a little bit more about yourself, the classes you teach here at FAU.
I've been here at FAU for quite some time already. It's more than 16 years. Time flies. You wouldn't believe it, right? And I teach finance classes, mostly investments-related courses. I teach all levels, starting from undergraduate to doctoral level. And the course that I mostly teach, the most experience I have here at FAU is investment analysis. That probably will be a focus of our discussion today. And I teach all modes of teaching, traditional face-to-face, which we've been doing, most of us been doing for most of our teaching experiences. And I also teach online classes, and I also teach hybrid classes, which allows students to be in online, synchronous, as well as in class. Honestly, that is probably the most challenging one.
Really? Okay. I would love to go back to that if we have time, because we all have different opinions of which format is
more difficult,
our favorite or the most challenging. So teaching, and specifically teaching online. Last year, like I said, she won the award, and that award pretty much gave you an opportunity to think about what you wanted to showcase. And in doing that, it was an opportunity for you to think about your teaching, right? Your teaching practice as an online instructor. So I'm going to just briefly mention the 4 categories of the award, but it's really 4 categories that impact our teaching all the time. So student engagement, student gains, feedback and communication, and creating a climate that is supportive, inclusive, and where students can really express who they really are and the instructor. So thinking about your classes and these good teaching practices, how did you decide what to include? Or let me phrase it this way. What is important to you when it comes to engagement, communication, supporting your students, etc.?
Very good question. I want to start by saying that my way of teaching is not final stage of how I do it. It's a journey. And online teaching didn't come easy to me, to be honest. I was afraid of doing that before I started because it felt like, okay, I don't know who is on the other side of the class. It's really difficult to engage, one of the important components of teaching online.
Right.
And that was challenging. But when I started, I actually realized that there are ways to actually be very effective. And online teaching may be suitable for students who may not be able to come in class because of their live engagements, such as work or some other requirements that they need to fulfill. So with online teaching, engagement, I believe, is one of the most important parts.
Right.
And in different classes, I would probably use different ways of doing that. I will focus specifically on the one that I mentioned, which is investment analysis. I know it's very narrow for maybe people participating in the workshop today,
Right.
but it can be expanded to, these techniques can be expanded to other fields and other classes as well. So specifically with engagement, which I will start with,
Right.
I designed a number of activities that I believe help students to not being just going through the material independently,
Right.
and maybe connecting with me through questions and participation in one-to-one communication.
Right.
And those activities include the following. I asked them to participate in trading simulation, which is something that students may not have seen before in real life in terms of participating in trading investment activities. And that's another benefit for them in terms of application. But beyond just doing it for the first time and learning how to invest and how to manage their money, they also engage with each other through a platform where they can see what others do, they can communicate with each other and learn from each other.
Right.
Supporting activity within a class that comes along with this simulation is a discussion forum that they have to participate on bi-weekly basis. So I don't want to overwhelm them with weekly discussions.
Right.
To make them opportunity to engage on more measured time.
Right.
And in those discussions, they provide recommendations for this trading simulation, which allows students to look for reasoning, to see how they apply the material they learn in class, as well as give a feedback and their opinions.
Right.
So these two activities, I believe, really help them to get engaged not only with the course material, but with each other as well.
Yeah. And I like that you said, providing justifications for why they're recommending a given security to other students. You also mentioned that your students were a little apprehensive at first with engaging with this trading simulation. How did you handle that?
Really good question. Some students actually really experience, because finance is important for personal reasons too for many, and for younger generations, especially we're teaching young kids.
Right.
Not all of them are young, but majority of them are still traditional students. They want to learn, but many of them do say that, okay, I don't know, I've never done it, it's scary. So how I don't know how to do that. So for that, I do provide help, which is showing how to use the simulation, providing videos as well. It's online class, so the best way of communication is to provide the visual as well as visual illustration for them. And I also encourage them not to be afraid of trying.
Yes.
And with this simulation, because it's simulation, tell them that, hey, you're not really losing your real money. Can you imagine if you do it with the real brokerage account and you do lose money, then it's going to be more hurtful. Here, you can explore, you can benefit from the expertise of the instructor or expertise of more experienced students who can share with you. And honestly, some students are really willing to share their experiences in real life and help other students. So I believe it's even for those who are not familiar with this with trading or investment, eventually they to come around through the support system that we provide as instructor and the students. That's what I want to emphasize. The students really help each other.
Right. So it's low stakes in the sense that they're not losing real money.
Correct.
But it's also part of your grading. It's you're grading them on their participation and the level of engagement with each other. And you have two things related outside of the simulation that I remember. You have that discussion, and you also have a final paper.
Correct.
Where they have to do a report.
Correct. As we probably all know, that if students are not rewarded or assessed on what they're doing, they're probably not going to be participating fully.
Are you talking about a grade?
Yes, of course. So these assignments are graded, and the grading for the simulation is done not only through the trace that they do, because, as I said, I don't grade their outcome in terms of how much money they made, because it's unfair. People have different experiences. But what I grade actually to meeting the standards or requirements that they tried and report on their activity. So they have to provide the report, which is with the rubric that I give them, so they know what to expect. I try to minimize the anxiety in terms of, I don't know how to do it.
Yes.
And it allows them to see objectives of what they need to do with the simulation. So it's not just open-end experience, which they may be confused about how to do, but they know what they're leading to. And short report within 2-page outcome helps them to reflect on what they've done. Right.
The same way that you were reflecting on your teaching and what you had done and what you had learned when you were preparing for this award, right?
I guess that's a good parallel. Yes, that's true. If you want me to reflect on how I was going through the process of application for award, I really encourage people who teach online really to consider applying next year, because when I saw that, at first I thought, oh, there are probably so many good instructors that do better than I do. But I thought I've put so much in this process of learning. And I think that I already achieved something with this process, because based on what students tell me, they like the way I provide the instruction online. I just reflected on what I do in online teaching and this 4 important categories of what will look in terms of online teaching. And I thought that I've done some of that, so let me share.
Exactly. And that's why today is so important, because you're really teaching, you're really sharing about your teaching, what you're passionate about, what has worked for you. And back to the simulation, I wanted to ask you, because I know you have extensive feedback. You actually write, I'm so sorry, Dr. Agapova. I just realized we have a question from our audience.
Yeah, we have a question from Abigail. Did Dr. Agapova find that students helping one another contributed to students in overcoming their initial hesitation to engage in the simulation more so than Dr. Agapova may have originally anticipated?
Beautiful question.
Abigail, thank you for the question. Really good one. And that's what I believe in, peer help. And students may feel more comfortable seeing what their peer is doing, because they may think that, okay, I'm experienced, I know how to do it, and they're very far apart from what I know. And when they hear or see how their peers do that, they become more comfortable of doing the process or specific assignment. So I personally believe that it really helps, and I encourage students to help each other. I suggest, beyond these 2 assignments that we just talked about, for them to get involved in buddy groups where they can help each other and ask questions that may not be comfortable to ask in the open forum or open discussions. So I really believe that peer support is one of the contributing factors to student success.
Absolutely. Okay, back to feedback. So you provide very personalized, very targeted feedback. Tell us a little bit about that. Why do you do that?
I believe that students really care whether they're noticed as individual in a class. And in online setting, there's not much interaction we don't really have face-to-face interaction unless a student wants to reach out and have a personal meeting, which happens, and I appreciate that.
Yeah.
But majority of them not necessarily do that. And when they get a feedback, which is specific to what they've done, they know whether they did it right or not with a specific targeted suggestion or suggestions. And based on students' evaluations that I do take seriously, I try to incorporate whatever suggestions they give to me. They do care about feedback that they receive in any class, whether it's online or traditional class, because they want to know what they're actually doing, what they're expected to do.
Exactly. I'm going to jump out of, not really out of topic, but out of the things that we had talked. And I want to ask you about a new strategy you're implementing now, receiving feedback from your students. Something you just said, that you really take that feedback seriously. And there's something new that you are doing or planning to do in your course about asking your students about how they are doing in the course. You want to tell us more about that?
Sure, yeah. We were talking earlier with Mary before the session started about my continuing professional development. And I've been doing AQ courses for more than 2 years, and I find them really helpful. Sorry for a little bit of a preview of what I'm going to talk about. I really find them really helpful. I was not born a natural teacher. I learned from practices that people develop, and they are working. So why not use what actually works? And one of the latest courses that I'm taking is about long life learning. And the recent module that I just completed was about feedback that students can provide to us. Not me giving students feedback on their assignments, but students' feedback on my teaching in the course. And we do traditionally have student evaluations in the end of the course, but those students who are in the course providing that feedback, they are not going to benefit from that. So what new practices that I learned, that the earlier we can solicit that feedback from students, and if we act on that feedback, then students can benefit as of now. So what I implemented last week in online class, which is investment analysis, I created a survey, which is anonymous. The students don't have to provide their names, which is quite important for students. And I really understand that, because they don't want to feel that their feedback can be perceived as unsatisfaction with the course and can reflect on their grade.
Right.
Of course, not going to happen, but they feel more at ease. And to my surprise, they really gave me feedback. On the first day I posted the survey, it's still open. I give them another a week to do that, and still waiting for some of other students' feedback. But I realized in that feedback that something that I assumed they already knew, understood, or had clarity, they needed help. So I responded to that feedback, not as a formal summary yet, but I implemented adjustments to my course as we go.
Awesome.
So that was an eye-opening experience for me, because I realized that students need help while I don't know about their needs or help.
Of course.
So, but thank you for asking about that. That was a really cool thing that I learned by myself, and I recommend for others. Another thing that I'm planning to implement, that was early course feedback, just a few weeks at the beginning.
Right.
But I consider to do another one, which was suggested as a good practice in the middle of the course, to see what works, what doesn't work, and what should we continue with improvements. So interesting practices.
So making adjustments while students still have time, and you have time to help your students.
Correct.
Beautiful.
Correct. Of course, it's difficult to make adjustment in terms of assignment,
of course,
offerings, but I can change it within the assignment, what can be assessed, as well as help them to understand what they need. just to give an example, if I have a minute.
Of course.
One of the feedbacks that I had related to the simulation, actually, that students were asking that it was not clear what we need to do, meaning that some of them were very novel and new to this experience. So what I did right there and then, I just created a post, an announcement, and illustration of what they need to do and what is expected of them. So I realized that my original assignment description was probably not sufficient for them to gauge what they need to do. So that was really helpful.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Dr. Agapova, we have questions.
Beautiful.
We have a question in the chat from Serena saying, did you set up groups for them or encourage them to self-organize?
Susan, thank you so much for the question. I assume you're asking about the trading simulation. So let me clarify that one is individual assignment. I do it purposefully so they have hands-on experience. I believe it's really important experience for anyone in life to know how to manage your money. So I want them to use this opportunity to do that. Right. But in terms of the buddy groups that are not graded assignment in this specific class, to give them opportunity to connect with others, I assign them because with online setting, it's really difficult for them to know anyone in the class. Right. So it helps them to organize by providing some group already. I do want to say, when I was chatting in my face-to-face class just recently, maybe a couple of weeks ago, I learned that some students don't like group assignments for a reason that when they're assigned for a group by instructor, they may not have a choice of whom they have in. So in that case, if you have a group that has some familiarity with the classmates, then maybe giving that option how to select group is good. But with online setting, maybe I'm wrong. I'm open to suggestions, but I think they need help to get to know each other. Yeah. I hope, Siren, I answered your question.
Beautiful. My next question is about, what did you find surprising about your own teaching as you were you've talked about, maybe I found out that my instructions needed more clarity. You found out that students really enjoy or really benefit from their peer help and interaction with them. What else did you learn as you were thinking about these awards or your own teaching? Something surprising or something interesting or unexpected?
I would say that when I looked at the student evaluations at the end of the course, which, as I said, I do take very seriously, surprising was that students like these hands-on activities, which I did not think that would be really important at first, but they really enjoyed them. They also, I realized that students really like structure and predictability of the course. I myself in nature really appreciate that, and the way I organize classes really structured. Thank you to Mary as well, because she was the person who helped me to develop the courses in the first place in terms of the Canvas shell. But that's what they appreciate. Online classes specifically, that I get positive feedback, that easiness of finding information and predictability of what to do every week, and the clarity of the as I said, structure and location of the material, that what students appreciate.
Yes, because then they are there to study, right? They're there to...
Not to search where it is and actually use it. And I also learned it from one of the IQ courses that I took, that especially in online setting, when you give students predictable format, they are more likely to succeed because it happens on regular, for example, weekly basis, and they have fewer surprises and they don't miss the assignments.
Yes.
So, yeah.
I think the surprise is probably on how you approach the content or how you explain something, right? You're creating these engaging real life application opportunities, but then when they go to class, imagine if every time you went to your classroom, you couldn't find it because they moved it to a different place.
Yeah, absolutely right.
Right.
So the skeleton of the course should be really sturdy. But what you put within the skeleton in terms of exciting assignments, that's where we have creativity to engage students.
Absolutely. Now, this is somehow related to creativity. It has to do with a different practice or a different approach to your courses. Something you got an email about this morning, or you told me you were reading a book about this new or exciting concept. Would you like to share?
I would love to. This is related to, I'm finishing up one of the AQ courses this week, and our moderator summarized important points in terms of lifelong learning, which is most of the instructors, professors, teachers are life learning individuals, because we don't stop somewhere. We always want to learn something new. And it's important to bring it to students to develop the skills as well. And not just to finish a class, to finish an assignment, to get a grade and be done with it. We should cultivate in students' ability to see importance of learning through life, because it benefits them in their professional life, in their success, in their future jobs. And I'm summarizing this important message today. But also related to that, the teaching should be also loving your students. And I read a book over a weekend that I shared with Mary today, which is 10 rules of true love. And one of the important examples was there that as teachers, we're not there to teach a subject. We're there to teach students life experiences. And when we care about them, when they feel that they do succeed much better than if they're just treated as subjects that need to learn specific material.
Right.
And I believe in that philosophy. And I really try to connect to my students in terms of teaching them not just what I have there in specific course or specific topic, but really connect to them and I do care about them.
Yes. Teaching is caring, right?
Correct.
I think you were also saying that you had a class that was challenging, but you were able to succeed because you had a teacher that really, made herself available and helped you. I had the same. I had a class, and it was a very an interesting topic, something that I was really passionate about. But I had never seen it the way she portrayed it, the way she approached it. And I think I will never forget that class. That she made me really curious. She made me really want to learn more.
Really good point. I would also want to share experience that I see with my children. And they're very different learners. And one of my kids who just started college this year was always saying that his learning experience goes through motivation. And I was trying to reason with him that motivation is important, but you don't always get the best teachers in your life or the educators in your life. So you have to try to go beyond just motivation. But the reality of life is that if we motivate people, they do succeed much better than if they have to struggle to get to the point of motivating themselves.
Right. Probably a combination of both, right?
Combination of both. Of course, kids are not yet developed to be self-motivators.
Yes.
And I'm talking about my kids when they're still in school. But even with students, if we motivate them, then they will be more engaged. And even being, and we're talking about online teaching, of course, right now, but online teaching is also relevant in terms of how much instructor is engaged and being in class with positive mood and being, really with, how to say it, in a good mood, and just being involved makes a difference instead of just, even if we're not having the best day, we have to be actors to get people really involved in the process. Sometimes it's difficult, but it's part of our job. And I do notice that when I'm down, the class doesn't go well. So I have to really lift myself and do better. With an online teaching, I try to be involved with students, not just weekly basis. I do communicate with them at least 3 to 4 times a week. And one of the questions that I asked in my recent survey, that whether it's good enough, whether it's not enough, or if it's too much, and majority said it's good.
Okay, sweet spot.
Yeah, though couple said that they would like to have more, but none of them said that it was too much.
Amazing.
So important lesson there, that we should be engaged, even if it's not face-to-face class, even if it's online class.
Right.
Students want to know that instructor is always present.
Of course.
I know from a discussion with some other instructors, because most of us teach online these days, that they shared feedback that they just recorded a lesson and that's all. But my feedback was like, no, that's not enough, because you need to make sure that students are actually understand what you're explaining in the video. You need to provide help if they need it. And if you're not proactive, they may not come to you.
Absolutely. Yes. We have another question.
Yeah, this question is from Abigail. Are there any specific components of the simulation that students found particularly motivating?
Thank you, Abigail. You have very good questions. The way it's designed, I put just minimum requirements, but they can do as much as they want. So there's a lot of freedom there. But the simulation is designed, it's not my personal design, but I could use that in the simulation, that they can see and compete with each other. It's not part of the grade, but the competition part seems to be really important for students, how well they are doing with their investment decisions. And it allows them to be ranked in terms of the return they get and other criteria. So I think it really motivates them to do their best, even if it's not part of the grade.
Yes, I was going to thank you, Abby, for that question, because when we were talking about motivation, I remember that you had that idea where they were competing with each other.
Yes.
And Dr. Agapova, what would you recommend to any faculty that are thinking about submitting an application for this year's Online Faculty Award? What are your parting thoughts or words of wisdom?
First thing, don't be afraid to do that. Submit it, because you may be actually doing much better than you think you're doing. That's how I thought. I was not sure that I'm the best, and I'm still not claiming I'm the best. I'm just trying to improve. And pay attention to what criteria are asked for, because it's a standardized process probably when we have a committee that looks at what they're trying to see.
Yes.
And given that it's a very limited amount of material you can provide, you have to pick what you believe the most representative of your practices. And in my case, I picked that I thought, as well as student think, based on their feedback, was the most important, not most important, but most engaging part of the course. Of course, there are a lot of other important assignments that I have, but showcase what you do.
Yes.
And probably get a feedback from other instructors if you would like to do that. I just do want to mention that I had my course reviewed, this course and other courses reviewed by my faculty members just for other reasons,
Right.
not for the award application. And that feedback was very helpful. And if you have that opportunity before you decide to apply, just see if you can improve further. And I don't know if I'm advertising or not. I'm not trying to do that, but the university offers acute course training for everyone who is interested. And as I said, from my experience, it was eye-opening experience, because beyond just highlighting important practices, you have examples provided. You can implement it, and you can work through that and see if it works in your class. If it doesn't, you try something else, because there are a variety of different ways of achieving the same objective. So that would be my suggestion. But the first one, don't be afraid, apply. Because if you don't apply, you don't know if you're good, right?
Exactly. Do we have time for one more question? Okay, so we also talked about, these practices, these things that you do for engagement, for communication, for listening to your students, right? And you said, okay, so these are implemented in my course, but they can actually be transferred to any other subject. And also we talked about maybe you don't have to do everything. Maybe start small.
Oh, that's a good point. I did not start with everything. My course was building step by step. And as I said, thank you to Mary and the team. Originally, when I started, I was just transferred whatever I was doing face-to-face to just online, thinking that it will work. It doesn't work that way. So it was a process of at least 3 years that I was developing my course, and I'm not done there yet. And a good point that Mary brought up that I also discussed with her earlier, that some of you may feel like, okay, it's very narrow application, it's a very narrow specific field or even course, and the simulation may only work with my course. But in any field, there may be some practical applications that are important skills that students need to learn as outcome of specific course. They may be available free, if not free, paid for resources that you don't have to create from scratch.
Right.
If you want to, you're more than welcome to do that, but online resources available that you can actually use products that can give you this engagement element, and students would appreciate these hands-on activities.
Absolutely. Well, Dr. Agapova, I am so thrilled that you were able to come today, share with us your experiences, your passion for your teaching and your students. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Likewise. I'm really grateful and I'm really honored. Actually, I'm really happy to be here, and we've been a team.
Yes.
Actually, it's not my accomplishment. It's a team accomplishment. I'm grateful for the center's staff and help, and my courses wouldn't be as good as they are right now if not for you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.